Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Delighted to have my good friend Tony Powers on, and with Powers to the People, and italkus.com. Is that right?
Absolutely right. italkus.com. How are you, Kevin?
I'm great. Yourself?
Just doing terrific. Sitting on the side of the road talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you pulled over. I don't need you getting in wrecks, although that could make for interesting radio. I don't want that happening. So what are your listeners talking about? Tony does a phenomenal job out there and in the Deep South, keeping people informed. What are your listeners talking about?
Well, gosh, today I think we're going to be talking about the FCC coming in and wanting to see how we put together news and how we decide how we're going to program our radio stations.
Oh, thank God. We needed help, didn't we, in that area desperately? With all the major issues out there, surely controlling how you and I talk has got to be among the most important.
Exactly. I'm shocked that they've waited so long. This is it's an amazing violation of the First Amendment, and it's just the continued lawlessness of this administration.
So are we talking fairness doctrine?
I'm sorry?
Are they talking fairness doctrine?
I think they want to just shut down anybody who is a conservative. They had the IRS go after the Tea Party and Tea Party groups, and of course you had Eric Holder going after news organizations, and now you got the FCC. I heard this from one of the ladies who was testifying before that congressional committee about the IRS, and she called it the weaponization of government. And I think that's exactly what we're beginning to see here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, let's frankly face it. There's, a very little dissent out there. The vast majority of the media is in compliant with Obama's worldview, and so they sit there and yawn when they look at these kind of regulations, not realizing that the tables can be churned.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing that really shocks me. When you watch the Democrats and you watch Obama, and you see all this overreach. As far as using the federal government to go after your political enemies, it's like they don't ever think that someday there might be a Republican president, or maybe the Republicans might control the House and the Senate and the presidency again one day. And would they want this to be happening when Republicans are in charge? And I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. It's a pretty interesting time. The way I talk these days, Tony, I would have said I was an alarmist nut just 4 years ago, 5 years ago. But I guess I've become an alarmist nut. I don't know if circumstances have changed that. I'm assuming they have. That things have changed to such a point that now the kind of thoughts that run through my mind are what I considered sci-fi just a few years ago.
Oh, yeah. Who would have thought? I mean, I can't imagine 5 years ago me even thinking that, the government, I don't know, we did have Richard Nixon, and he did use the IRS as a weapon against his enemies, but of course he got impeached, and he eventually left office. But this president, I don't see that happening. And, you're using the IRS against your enemies, you're using the OSHA, you're using all of these government agencies to go after people you don't like, the National Labor Relations Board, Tax South Carolina and other states. That are right-to-work states. It's just like one thing after another with this outfit. So the things that are happening today, I would have never, if somebody had told me 5 years ago that the FCC would even consider sending people into radio and television stations to actually observe how they create news and how they cover news, I would have said, no, that can't happen in America. But yes, it is. They're trying to make that happen. I think
I'm sorry.
Call their congressmen and their senators and say, no, you have no business in newsrooms in this country.
Well, so yeah, and they absolutely should. You should be contacting your member of Congress and your senator saying, hey, we need to investigate. And by the way, it was an FCC commissioner who exposed this. He's alarmed. Someone on the commission's alarmed.
Oh, sure. Well, I can't imagine any American not being alarmed with this. And then you see the lawlessness of this president with his pen and his phone, and he can just change law at will. And nobody, I mean, they call him out on it, but you watch these Congress, the congressmen and senators, and they're like, well, there's nothing we can do. We've got to wait on an election. And then, after the election, maybe we can do something. So elect all Republicans to the Senate in 2014, and then maybe we can slow it down. But, of course, the president will still have a veto, so it'll be 2016. You've got to elect a Republican president. So I guess we have to wait 3 years and just live with this for 3 years.
Well, and the thing about it, when I saw those senators, including our very own John Cornyn, who now when I say his name, I get physically nauseated, churning, going ahead and voting for the debt limit ceiling increase without conditions. When I saw that, and they, of course, because they're so-called leaders, I call them cheerleaders, McConnell and Cornyn, they're not leaders. Leaders do the hard thing. They don't do this kind of ridiculous things that we see regularly from them. But when they did that, they brought 4 or 5 other people with them, preventing a filibuster. When I saw that, if you're sitting here on the sidelines, I keep hearing from the Republicans that they need more help. But when they do stuff like that and they don't go down in glory and they don't have a fight and they don't have a filibuster, what do they need help with?
Well, Kevin, and I know you remember just, a few months ago when Patty Murray and Paul Ryan were putting together that budget behind closed doors that did away with the Budget Control Act of 2011. All of the sequester cuts go out the window. And they said, oh, well, we can't have another government shutdown. This is not the time to fight. But, boy, just wait until that debt ceiling. We're going to really show President Obama and the Democrats then. We're going to get some real cuts. We're going to hold their feet to the fire. But they just rolled over and played dead. And then they tell us, oh, well, wait until November. Well, I think the American people are tired of waiting.
Yeah, they're tired of waiting. It's interesting. It really, really is interesting to see what's going on in this front. And, again, they keep saying they need help, but I don't see what the Republicans need help with. It looks like they're doing a perfectly good job carrying the Democrats' water.
You're absolutely right. And that's funny. You're right. They do keep saying, well, send us more help. Send more Republicans to Washington. Well, if they're not going to do any more than the ones we have there now, I don't really see the point. What we really need to do is send more constitutional conservatives to Washington and get rid of some of these rhinos and actually have some people there representing we the people. And until we do that, I think we're going to see the same thing. There's not a dime's worth of difference between the leadership in the Republican Party and the Democrats.
There's really not. There's really not. And again, leadership's really defined. Again, like I say, they're cheerleaders, not leaders. They're not being courageous. They're not standing for liberty. They're continuously and consistently throwing the only popular Republican among Republicans, Ted Cruz, under the bus. I mean, it's mind-boggling to watch. Tony Powers, he's awesome. iTalkUS.com. He's our guest. We're going to have more for him right after this break, and looking forward to that. I'm Kevin Price. You're listening to The Price of Business.